It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and we're finally heading into 2002. But before we do that, we have to do the 2001 leftovers. This one's going to be very interesting for a number of different reasons, because number one, the leftovers I have here are not that much. In fact, it's 5 in particular. There wasn't really a whole lot of movies in 2001 that I felt like I needed to cover, because some of the ones that I wanted to, that were in the list that I looked on Wikipedia, ones I haven't seen, like The Caveman's Valentine was one I didn't see. There was a couple of other ones here and there, but I know the direct-to-video movies do pretty well whenever I do one of these, so I have those here. I have 5 of those, but I also have 2 releases that came out on the first weekend of January 4th of 2002, so we'll get to those first. And we can be quick on one of them, because this first one, there's a reason why this was dumped on the first weekend of January, because this one's not really all that good, so let's go ahead and talk about that movie. It's Gary Sinise in the psychological thriller Impostor.
War. A brilliant scientist on the run.
A genetic cyborg with a bomb in its ribcage
Needs a rebel leader to bring down a government conspiracy.
Put everything on the line for you, and I want my hand.
Get it? Now, 2 strangers must trust each other.
I need you to run me into that city underground.
And fight their way in.
What's in there for you, big
Proof before time runs out.
Maybe you are a bomb. Just don't blow up in my face.
Impostor. Rated PG-13. Everywhere Christmas Day.
Based off of a story from the author of Total Recall and Blade Runner, Philip K. Dick. Impostor has Gary Sinise, Madeline Stowe, Vincent D'Onofrio, and Mekhi Phifer in a film where, at the time when the Earth has been at war with an alien force for over a decade, the latest work of Lauda government scientist Spencer Olem, played by Sinise, promises to save the planet, but suddenly Olem himself is accused of being an alien spy and is thrown headlong into a disorienting nightmare as a fugitive from the law. With blasts of adrenaline-fueled intensity, this futuristic thriller soars as Olem races to prove his identity to the world and himself in time to save mankind. And, yeah, there's a reason why this was dumped on January 4th, and as you can tell by that trailer, this thing did not open up on Christmas Day. And, first of all, you shouldn't be releasing a movie like this on Christmas Day unless you have unless you're James Cameron. This isn't gonna fly on Christmas Day, but this is directed by Gary Fledler and also written by David Twohy, who wrote Pitch Black, and Aaron Kruger, who would later go on to write The Ring. And despite a great cast involved in here, and despite the fact that it's based off of a Philip K. Dick story, it's not really all that interesting or all that exciting in general. In fact, Philip K. Dick would be the basis of another adaptation that came out later in the year, a far more successful movie with Minority Report, but we'll eventually get to that one when we get to the summer. But this, yeah, it's a boring movie. It's a dull film. The sci-fi aspects really are not that interesting, and like I said, it's one of those movies where it was clearly dumped on the first weekend of 2002 because there was nothing else there. They thought maybe they could sneak it in there, maybe they'd make some money off of it, and this thing crashed and burned big time. But then again, when you have a $40 million movie and you put all that money into this, you got to have a good story to work with here. And this one just did not. It's a forgettable film, and there really isn't a whole lot more I could say about it. It's a movie that I barely remember myself when I saw it, and from what I remember from it, not a whole lot of it stuck out with me, so yeah. Not much more to say about that one, so we got that one out of the way. Now let's get to the good stuff here. Let's talk about the IMAX release of Disney's classic film, Beauty and the Beast.
Coming exclusively to IMAX and other giant screen theaters. A special large format cinema edition of a Disney classic.
Be our guest. Be our guest. Put our service to the test. Tie your napkin around your neck, Sherry, and we provide the rest.
On January 1st,
Here we go!
relive the music. Relive the magic.
Mama, there's a girl in the castle.
This is impossible.
I know it is, but here we are.
And relive the beauty.
Hello. Hello, Belle.
Gaston, you are positively primeval.
Why, thank you, Belle.
Coming exclusively to IMAX and other giant screen theaters.
She's the one, the girl we have been waiting for.
She'll never see me as anything but a monster.
They must fall in love tonight if we ever expect to be human again.
Human again.
featuring an original, never-before-seen musical sequence.
Belle, you came back.
Walt Disney Pictures proudly presents Beauty and the Beast. Coming January 1st, exclusively to IMAX and other giant screen theaters.
So we pretty much covered Beauty and the Beast already when I talked about it when it first came out, but this is notable for the specific reason that this is an IMAX release. And there was a time when Disney decided to re-release some of their classic movies from the past 10 years in IMAX. They would later do it the next year with The Lion King, and they were going to do it again with Aladdin, supposedly having an IMAX release. But as you can tell from here, they restored it, remastered it for an IMAX theater experience, and they've actually added in a musical sequence that was that's in the Broadway show, but not in the regular movie, called Human Again. And they brought in a lot of the animators back to do this. They had a digital master from the old CAPS files they had to make this high-resolution IMAX film negative, the high-resolution IMAX film negative, and the results speak for themselves. I mean, the movie, it's still the classic Beauty and the Beast. The new song they add feels kind of unnecessary, really. It's a decent song overall, but not one that's up there with some of the great songs in the movie. I mean, this thing has a ton of great songs in general. Well, and the sequence feels kind of pointless. It feels like they added in there to give this movie an extra lift to it, to give the people to have people come in and see this movie on a big screen. I mean, on a huge IMAX screen. Like, unfortunately, around here, we didn't have that big of an IMAX screen. If I wanted to see this movie that badly, we had to go all the way down to downtown Pittsburgh, because the Carnegie Science Center was the only place that had this IMAX theater where you can go see these movies. And, in fact, I've only been to one IMAX theater in my life, and that was when the Pittsburgh Mills had the IMAX theater there, and I went to see Superman Returns there, which was an interesting experience, to say the least. But yeah, I have barely been to an IMAX theater. I think the closest I've been to that is in a Cinemark XD theater, and even that is just like, yeah, it's a big theater screen, but it pales in comparison to what IMAX can do. And but luckily, I have seen Beauty and the Beast on the big screen. They would have a 3D release about 11 years, almost 10 years, actually 10 years later. 2012 would be when the 3D release would happen. So I did get to see it on the big screen eventually, but as far as this version is concerned, the song isn't bad. It's just kind of unnecessary. It kind of drags into the movie very pointlessly. But then again, The Lion King had one too, with the Morning Report, which I feel like is more pushed in there. I feel like that one was worse than this. This one just feels like it's kind of unnecessary, but it's not bad either. It's got nice animation to it. Like, honestly, I have more problems with the one that he did for The Lion King, but we'll let you get to that one when we open up 2003. But the movie's still the same. The classic Disney movie, still one of the best animated films of all time. Not much more to say about that one. So that's Beauty and the Beast, the IMAX release. And we'll start a little bit of a trend, because Disney would put movies out in IMAX for a little bit after the success of Fantasia 2000, and then this, and then Lion King, and then so on and so forth. But with that said, now let's finally get to the 2001 leftovers. And 5 here to look at, so let's start with the first one I have here, and that is Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase.
Cyberspace.
Cyberspace? No.
Enter at your own risk as Scooby-Doo and the gang go digital to delete a ghostly phantom virus in deepest cyberspace. It's the all-new movie Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase. Coming to video cassette and DVD October 2001.
So Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase is the fourth of the Scooby-Doo direct-to-video movies that began with on Zombie Island, The Witch's Ghost, and the Alien Invaders, and was actually recognized as the last official Hanna-Barbera production before they were eventually absorbed into Warner Brothers, shortly after the movie came out. And also notable, this is the first movie to have Grey DeLisle, D-E-L-I-S-L-E, I think I'm pronouncing that name right, but prolific voice actress. It's the first time she plays the voice of Daphne Blake, after Mary Kate Bergman played the role in the last 3 films. And in this one in particular, Scooby and the gang get trapped in a video game created for them, and they must fight against this phantom virus, but to escape the game, they must go level by level and defeat the game once and for all. And this is one of the first movies where the monsters are being back to fate. Kind of. I mean, the Phantom Virus is a real villain, but he was created by somebody, so instead of there actually being real monsters in here, we're kind of back to the standard Scooby-Doo formula. And the premise is an interesting one. It does lead to some pretty cool ideas, like the Scooby-Doo gang meeting the video game Scooby Gang is kind of interesting. But the film never really amounts to anything we haven't seen done in other movies. And also the animation seems really, really lackluster this time around. I mean, the first three films definitely had the better animation, but you can really start to see it was getting a little too generic this time around, even though it's the same animation studio who did the other films. And then shortly after this, the movies that would follow after that would follow the What's New Scooby-Doo formula, and it's the last, like I said, it's the last one to use that before, these designs before they eventually went over to the What's New Scooby-Doo designs. Interesting ideas to it, but they never really do anything to give it its own edge or make it something that you have to see. Like, you basically end up feeling like you were okay with what you saw, but nothing really blows you away at the end. And I mean, that's the best way to describe Cyber Chase, really. Okay, but nothing that makes it a must-see. Once in a while it'll show up on Cartoon Network. It's worth a watch if there's nothing else on, but it's not one of those ones that I would say rush out and see it immediately. It's just kind of like, it's there. If there's nothing else on, you might as well just watch it. So yeah, Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase. But let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, which is another Hanna-Barbera-ish project, and that is The Flintstones on the Rocks.
Modern Stone Age family is having an age-old problem.
Now where's my dinner?
Can the Rubbles save their best friend's marriage?
Happy anniversary! Eureka!
Cartoon Network Cartoon Theater presents The Flintstones on the Rocks. Saturday at 7 on Cartoon Network.
So this one premiered not too long after Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase came out, and this is very interesting because this is a hard movie to find. Like, you cannot find a high-definition copy of this movie, as far as I'm aware of. It's been, over 20 years since this movie came out, but this is one that's been very, very hard to find in physical form. But this was made by the same people who gave us Dexter's Laboratory and the Powerpuff Girls. In fact, Chris Savino, who was one of the animators on the Powerpuff Girls, is one of the directors on it. And basically the storyline is that Fred and Wilma's marriage is in serious jeopardy, and Barney and Betty decide to help out by taking them on vacation to Acapulco for their anniversary. And this was kind of an attempt to recreate the more mature first and second seasons of the Flintstones rather than the more kid-friendly latter half of the series, even to the point where Pebbles and Bam Bam aren't even in this movie. And considering they got a lot of the same people who worked on Dexter's Lab and the Powerpuff Girls to put this together, it definitely shows, along with some of the original people who worked on the original series. There actually is this interesting meshing of the two different sides of animation. Like, you have the style of the old school mature animation combining with the new school animation. You can still tell it's using adult style humor, but doing it in a very specific way where most kids watching this wouldn't even get half the references when they were younger and would figure it out later on down the road. And the final result is an interesting and surreal approach to such a beloved franchise like the Flintstones, and in a good way too. Sometimes the animation can look really, really good. I mean, the same style of animation from Dexter and Powerpuff Girls works surprisingly well for this universe. There's even a really good stop-motion sequence that still holds up even by today's standards. And on top of that, you got a great voice cast. Jeff Bergman, once again, as Fred. Tress MacNeille as Wilma. Kevin Michael Richardson as Barney. Gray DeLisle. I keep pronouncing this name wrong, and I don't know if I'm getting DeLisle? Maybe it's DeLisle. Gray DeLisle as Betty. They're doing a pretty good job of filling those roles and giving their own unique performances to them. Like, Tress MacNeille is such a dead ringer for Jean Vanderply as Wilma. Like, I was amazed at how close she was to that role. Like, and a lot of these people would play the same roles again in the next Flintstones animated movie they would do with the WWE of all things, which is surprisingly pretty good too. I was actually really surprised at how much I enjoyed that one, but the humor is pretty good here for the most part. It does a good job of balancing the humorous elements with the more serious and emotion-driven moments, specifically with the scenes with Fred and Wilma having to focus on repairing their troubled marriage, and obviously, you want to root for them to get it back on track. And they do a good job of explaining both the pros and cons of the relationship, and it does lead to a nice little conclusion at the end. But like I said, the saddest thing about the movie is that it's hard to find a copy of this movie anywhere. It's not available on DVD or Blu-ray. It doesn't have a home release, not even a Warner Archive exclusive, and it's a shame because it's one of those ones I really think should get some kind of physical copy or a way to watch this movie because it's a really good film. Now, as far as I know, there isn't one. Maybe there's one on like Amazon Prime or something that I just don't know of, or maybe even on Tubi where you can watch the Flintstones on there, but as of right now, you'd have to be lucky to watch it on a recorded blank videotape from 2001 or find it deep somewhere online somewhere. But who knows? Maybe it's out there and I just haven't seen it yet. If anyone knows if I can find a copy of this, let me know down in the comments below. But I thought the Flintstones on the Rocks was pretty good. It does a good job of meshing together the old and the new in a very funny, well-animated, and cleverly written homage to the original series. And hopefully, maybe this will be a sign that, hey, Warner Brothers, you've taken a lot of smack over the last couple of years, especially from me, but I mean, you could make up a little bit if you could actually give us a physical copy of this, even if it's on Warner Archive. I'll gladly take it because I want to watch this movie again in high definition. So, if anyone's out there and they know where I can find this, please let me know because I really want to see this movie in full again. But yeah, that's the Flintstones on the Rocks. So let's go ahead and move to some Disney. We've got a new Disney holiday movie to talk about, and that is Mickey's Magical Christmas: Snowed In at the House of Mouse.
We interrupt this broadcast for a special weather bulletin. The snow continues to fall. All schools, all stores, all roads will be closed until further notice. In other words, we're snowed in.
What? Oh, no!
Gosh, Mickey, if we're snowed in, how are we supposed to get home to our families?
Aw, don't worry, fellas. You've got family right here. All of us.
I always wanted a duck for a brother. Oh!
Join Mickey Mouse and all your favorite Disney friends in a full-length animated movie, Mickey's Magical Christmas: Snowed In at the House of Mouse. Now available on video and Disney DVD.
So this is the first of two movies based off of the Disney series that they had at the time, The House of Mouse, with everybody from the Disney Animation Library all together. They go to a night. Mickey Mouse has a nightclub, and Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Daisy, Goofy, all of them run it, and you see all these great Disney, the classic library Disney characters there watching a show and watching classic cartoons. And basically, the storyline is that everyone's snowed in at the House of Mouse. Mickey suggests that they throw their own Christmas party, and everyone is happy except for Donald, who just isn't in the Christmas spirit. So, Mickey shows a series of cartoons that shows just what Christmas is all about. And, I mean, it's really just a compilation film, really, because most of the stuff is from the Mickey Mouse Works TV series. There's two classic cartoons. There's Pluto's Christmas Tree, and then they show Mickey's Christmas Carol in full. And this was actually one of two compilation movies that came out on the same day. Recess had a Christmas movie as well, and I was going to bring that up as well, but I figured I might as well just talk about it here, because there's not really much more to say about that one, except that it's basically the same thing, a compilation film with, like, classic Recess episodes, and then they show the Christmas episode in there. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing as this, and yeah, it seems kind of pointless, but at the same time, there are moments where it does hold up nicely. I mean, yeah, half the time you're watching classic Mickey Mouse cartoons, but at the same time, they're good Mickey Mouse cartoons. Like I really like the Nutcracker one cartoon they have in here. I like the fact that they have Pluto's Christmas Tree in here, as well as Mickey's Christmas Carol. Well, that's one I still watch every Christmas. And, you know, like I said, it's still great to see all these classic Disney characters in one room. I mean, it's a really, really cool, well-done concept. And, it's a shame the House of Mouse still isn't available on Disney Plus, which is shocking to think about it, since the show still has a lasting memory with a lot of people, and this movie has a lasting memory with a lot of people. It has a great little song at the end featuring all of them singing that is very well done. It's a really fun little Christmas movie. It's one that I don't watch every year, but it's one that every once in a while I'll go back to. I mean, it's good for what it is. It's a really well done film. Nothing too special, nothing too exciting, but it delivers what it promises. It's a nice little Christmas gift that every once in a while is worth a watch during the holiday season. Maybe not once every year, but I like it. I think it's fun. So that's Mickey's Magical Christmas: Snowed In at the House of Mouse. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one I have on this list, and that is Beethoven's Fourth.
Oh, no. Who let the dog in?
Everyone's favorite dog, Beethoven, is back. Just that. One's a pooch in need of social graces. The other's a dog living high on the hog. When their worlds collide, everything goes to the dogs.
He just picked up my napkin. He folded your napkin.
That's weird.
It's having an anxiety attack!
Beethoven's back for double the trouble in the movie that will make the whole family howl. Judge Reinhold and Julia Sweeney are back for more in Beethoven's Fourth. Only today on video and DVD. Rated G.
It's basically Prince and the Pauper meets Beethoven. I mean, literally the plot is the family is pleasantly surprised and puzzled when Beethoven suddenly becomes obedient. Turns out it's a Prince and the Pauper scenario where the real Beethoven is now living with a pompous, rich family. And it's literally so predictable that by the end of it, nobody even figures out that these two dogs were completely different. And that's kind of the major negative with the movie, is that everything is kind of pointless. I mean, nothing about this movie really is all that funny. Nothing about this movie is really all that interesting. And as much as I love Beethoven as a character, I don't think he's really given a whole lot to do here. And, you know, the Prince and the Pauper scenario is not really well suited, I think, for a Beethoven movie. I think there's so much more you could do with this character and the story of the Prince and the Pauper, which is a great story to tell. I mean, it's based off of one of Mark Twain's classic stories and has been done well in the past. I mean, just look at the Mickey Mouse one. But this, it just feels kind of like they had to make it because the last one was an unexpected success, and Universal sees a lot of potential in Beethoven, and this was not the last time we'd see Beethoven in a movie like this, because there's still 4 more movies after this, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, there's still 4 more movies after this. This has just as many sequels as The Land Before Time, except Land Before Time is much more than that, which, come to think of it, I don't know why I've never spotlighted the Land Before Time movies, but maybe that's something to think about for the future. But yeah, this movie, I don't know. As much as I love Beethoven, this feels like much of a stretch, and there's a good idea with the Prince and the Pauper concept, but they never really do anything that funny with it, unfortunately. So hard pass on that one. Even though I like Beethoven, I've seen him in so much better films, though. But let's go ahead and wrap this episode up by taking a look at the last film on the list here, and that is Pokémon Mewtwo Returns.
On video, Pokémon Mewtwo returns. From the far reaches of the Johto region, an old nemesis returns.
I am Mewtwo.
To battle his fiercest opponent ever.
You.
In a brand new movie adventure.
Pikachu!
Mewtwo returns in the sequel to Pokémon the first movie.
Do not test the limits of my power.
Pokémon Mewtwo returns. Look for it on videocassette and DVD.
So, as they indicate, this is a direct-to-video sequel to Pokémon the first movie, where you have Ash, Misty, and Brock continuing to explore the Johto region and having to rescue Pikachu after Team Rocket kidnaps him, and the search leads them to find the hidden plateau where Mewtwo had established a haven with the clone Pokémon from the previous movie. And the evil Giovanni is planning to recapture Mewtwo and renew his efforts to create an army of bioengineered Pokémon. And aided by the reluctant Meowth, Ash and his friends defeat Giovanni and his henchmen. This is one of those ones that feels really weird, because when I saw this, I thought it was something that Kids WB made themselves. I didn't think this was something that was made specifically by the people who made the Pokemon anime, but no, this was made by them. It came out in Japan in 2000, but came to video late in December of 2001, and actually includes a mini-feature called The Uncut Story of Mewtwo's Origin, which was a 10-minute sequence that was originally cut from Mewtwo Strikes Back, which we talked about before, where basically the concept of that is that they explain the backstory of Mewtwo's origin. If you don't remember, they actually had a reason why Mewtwo was cloned, and the scientist who created him was basically trying to find a way to clone his deceased daughter, and through visions, Mewtwo is told by the daughter that he's more than just a clone, but his own person, which makes for a better reason for him to lose it at the lab instead of just snapping and blowing up everybody like he did in the regular version. That basically comes into this version here. It was actually cut from the original version of the American dub of the first movie because of the G rating, and they thought it was too dark and morose, which this was 1999. I think you could still get away with a G rating, but I digress. But as far as this movie goes, it's fine. I mean, I think it does a better job of telling the story and going more into Mewtwo's backstory in general, because this was something that was originally intended for the first film. And I like how it even makes fun of the fact that, like, the whole thing at the end of Pokemon the first movie, where Mewtwo just wipes everybody's memory away, and they actually make fun of that in this particular movie here. And I'll give it to Dan Green, who comes in as Mewtwo in this film, who is the voice of Yu-Gi-Oh! He does a pretty good job of handling the role in the English dub, and I mean, it's fine for what it is. I think it's a decent little sequel to the first movie, and it does fix a lot of the problems that were in the dub of the first film in general. But I won't say it's anything too classic or anything too amazing, but it's fine for what it is. I think it delivers what it promises, and it's just there, I think, to be a movie where, you know, the first movie was a success, so let's have a sequel to that, and let's try to fix some of the problems that we had from the first film that we could actually fix in this particular film, and I thought it did a pretty good job with it. It's fine for what it is, but it's one that I wouldn't say is a must-watch every time, but if you want to see a sequel to the first movie, there you go, right there, Pokemon Mewtwo Returns. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and when we meet next time, we'll take a look at the first couple of new releases, actually, the second and third new releases, as we just talked about one this week, of 2002, and that is it includes Jack Black and Colin Hanks in the comedy Orange County, and we also have Brotherhood of the Wolf, so we'll take a look at both of those movies next time, but until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I'm off, I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.